CBRC in China has issued a notice to alert the Chinese banks to prevent to alert the risk about the Bitcoin. So I don't think that the Chinese banks will accept it as either as currency or commodity. It just don't work in China. And actually, I'm very glad that you professors like you open the course about the money markets change, because in China we are under huge transformation about how the central bank regulated the money markets in China. We are on the exchange rates and also the interest rates regulation rules has been greatly changed over the past 2 years. For example, the Chinese globalization happens in Hong Kong and Shanghai. Shanghai is now make great efforts to take the privilege in the Chinese globalization. I'm wondering how you look at it.
So you're talking about the internationalization of the renminbi discussion here. Yes. I've actually been trying to understand this myself, and so I'm hoping to learn more while I'm here. What I know so far, okay, is that there is the offshore market in Hong Kong, and it's very small, really, and it operates. It's very integrated with the world money market. So all of the kinds of arbitrage relationships that you would expect to hold in a free market do hold, okay, in Hong Kong. And then there's a domestic, the onshore market, and it's very different, and it's not that connected with the offshore market. I've been doing some study of what are the interest rates offshore and onshore, the implied interest rates from various things, and I have some beautiful little charts about that. And also the exchange rate, even in the past, has not been the same between the onshore renminbi and the offshore renminbi and the dollar. They have moved around in times of stress. It seems that the PBOC, from what I gather, is interested in making the exchange rate the same, so that the CNY and CNH have the same exchange rate with the dollar. But the forward rates, the interest rates, are quite far apart, and that's very interesting to me as a monetary phenomenon. That in order to take the stress off of a imbalance of trade, either you move the exchange rate or you move the interest rate. Okay, and so you may remember in my discussion of the financial crisis, the way the offshore dollar interest rate, the LIBOR interest rate, rose 200 basis points above the onshore dollar interest rate, okay, the Fed funds rate, in order to maintain par, between the onshore and offshore spot market in the exchange market. So something that's perhaps an analogy to what is going on here. The integration, and that's of course because of a crisis, okay? That's not what's happening in China. It's not because of a crisis, it's because these markets are not integrated at the moment, and so the pressures are not, they don't flow from onshore to offshore and vice versa easily, and so they're existing in different worlds, and the only place they connect is at the spot rate. But it is I know it's a goal to move toward greater integration, and to move slowly toward it in a controlled way. I think I would like to learn more about these new developments that you're talking about in the last 2 years. I know about 2 years ago, the interest rates in onshore and offshore were almost the same, okay, and then they spread apart. So it looked like a chance when it could maybe be unified, but then they didn't. Okay, so it's not an easy task. I think it's a very important development to be watching.
Personally, I don't think that if PBOC try to unify the exchange rate overseas RMB and onshore RMB, I don't think it could work, because the money of the offshore RMB, they don't have places to go. They have the investment chances either in Singapore or Hong Kong is so limited that you have no place to go. And actually, banks like us are trying to make money between the different exchange rate and the interest rate. Yeah. So I don't think it could work if they.
But it could be a big change if Shanghai becomes an international financial center.
Then they are trying
compete
to
with Hong Kong. This could be a very big thing.
Yes, but I pay attention to the rules of the Shanghai
Free trade zone.
Yes, but yes, they have the laws and regulations, but you don't see any detailed regulations that you can actually get some things done. They say that, okay, we will give policies that you can save money and you have so many convenience and you can save your efforts and everything. So they attracted so many banks to set up branches. Our bank do the same thing, but who knows?
Doesn't work yet.
Yeah, doesn't work yet. Yeah, that's the thing. And also, I have another question. Actually, sorry, because your course has so many things to do with my job. It's so interesting to watch your lectures, because it's like my daily work connected with your theories. So my other question is that the exchange rate between RMB and US dollars. In the past 5 years, the RMB appreciated so much that everybody, trying to exchange their monies into RMB and enjoying the high interest rate, save the deposits in China. And but the trend has turned.
Stopped.
Yeah, stopped. Yeah, in this year. And I talked with one of my economics in my bank. He holds the opinion that actually the trend should start long ago, because if you look at the NDF price between RMB and US dollars, there are huge differences, because the onshore RMB and US dollar go all the way down to 6.1, but the NDF price stops around 7 in the overseas markets. He said that because there is, if you look at the foreign currency reserve in China, and if you look at the exports statistics, and he thinks that the economy of China don't support the current exchange rate. He thinks that the exchange rate go all the way down to 6.1 because of the political reasons, not the economic reasons. And he also holds the opinion that because the trend has turned in this year, so you can see that many export companies think that it's their time to take advantage of that. But he thinks that the PBOC won't support this trend. He thinks that the central government would do something to stop the trend because of the political pressures. So how do you think about that?
Well, so I'm learning about this. But let me just say some ideas from the course, which you will see in part 2 when we talk about foreign exchange. Okay. One of the important things to appreciate about foreign exchange is that it is, as you say, part political and part economic. Okay? Because there's a market, what foreign exchange is where one money market meets another money market. But it's also where one central bank meets another central bank, where one nation state meets another nation state. So there's always politics involved. That's true in the United States as well as in China. The issue in China that I would draw your attention to is that the depth of the money market in the renminbi, okay, the ability of the actual private money market to absorb stress is very limited compared to the dollar money market. The dollar money market is just enormous, and so any kind of stresses and moves, dealers will absorb these just for a small change in price. What absorbs the stress in China? The balance sheet of the People's Bank of China, mostly. So that makes it more political. The point that the dealer in the money market, the ultimate dealer in the money market in China, is really the central bank more than than a deep and liquid private money markets, and so that makes it more political.
Yeah.
So let me connect this with your first point about internationalization of the renminbi. One of the prerequisites of internationalization will be developing real liquid money markets in forward markets in the renminbi, which do not really exist onshore at the moment, as you were saying. And the ones offshore are, oh, they're small. So it doesn't really exist right now. And I think that's a big challenge for a central bank to essentially give away its operations. You know, the Fed, remember that thing I told you about when the Fed, after the war in 1952, there was the Fed Treasury Accord. During the war, the Central Bank of the United States was dealing with war finance. So it was the dealer. It was making sure that the government debt was sold. It was buying the debt. You know, it was and there were no private dealers. You know, they all went out of business, okay, during the war. After the war, the Fed said, we have to go back to this. We have to recreate these private money markets. And we want to step away from this and be the dealer of last resort, not the dealer of first resort. That was a controversial decision, that reading. I guess we haven't come to it yet in the course, but you will come to it in the course. And there might be an analogy there between the challenge that the PBOC is facing now. Because war economy and development economy are very similar challenges, where you're trying to use the state to achieve, in the power of the central bank, to achieve important social aims. But then you mature. The war is over, and you become peace, and development is over, and you become a mature country, and different institutions are required. And that evolution can be a little rocky. So it'll be very interesting to watch. There are probably some lessons from the history of other countries for that. Let me just get some other, I could talk about this all night.